So you're trying to repair a relationship and your partner or your ex-partner is currently not speaking with you. They're not in contact with you. A lot of people get into this whirlwind of anxiety, thinking that they need to reach out to their partner as soon as possible in order to heal the relationship. So in today's video, I want to break down why you feel so much anxiety when you're not speaking with your ex-partner and why reaching out right now in this state is going to make things way worse. So to begin with, I just want to break down 3 quick points as to why your brain feels so much anxiety and so much of an urge to try to reach out to your ex-partner, even though it may not be the best decision for you right now. So when a rough patch in a relationship happens, whether it's a separation, divorce, a breakup, just a rocky period, your brain doesn't just lose a partner, it loses one of the primary sources of the reward chemicals in your brain. So oftentimes during a relationship, your brain gets regular hits of dopamine, which is the reward chemical that people speak about a lot, but also oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone. So when contact stops or slows down, those levels start to plummet and your brain can enter a state of kind of a starvation and sends out panic signals like anxiety to push you into a place to try to find that chemical again, which is why a lot of people feel such an intense missing of their partner or ex-partner when a situation like this is happening. It's usually a physical ache or an urge to just check in, to just have some sort of contact. And this is one thing that, a lot of people that I speak with talk about. When I speak with them and asking them, why do you want to reach out to them? They don't have a clear answer. They know that they want to, but they don't know why. Now, I'm not saying that there's no reason to reach out to an ex-partner, but it's usually the first thing that people do is have that urge, but they don't have a reason to do it. And then what I see happening is people have that urge to contact their ex-partner and they start to manufacture a reason to do it in order to try to get that chemical feeling back in their brain again. But it's not just that. There's a hijacking of the amygdala. So the brain can perceive the loss of a close attachment as a literal threat to your survival. So your amygdala, which is the fear center of your brain, can go into overdrive. And this can trigger like a fight or flight response. So since you can't fight the breakup, you can't flee your feelings, the energy manifests as a high level feeling of anxiety. But not only that, the pattern, the routine also becomes disrupted. So this is the third point that I want to start with, which is there's this loss of predictability. So humans crave routine. So when you and your partner were together, you knew who to text when you woke up or who would be there on a Friday night or when you get home from work. Without that contact, your brain is forced to rewire its daily map. The routine has been disrupted. So the gap between your old reality and your new reality is filled with this void of uncertainty, which can trigger a massive feeling of anxiety. So the first thing that I want to say is that, yes, I totally understand that you want to fix the relationship. You want to repair the relationship. And I've done a lot of videos on how to do so much of that by yourself. I'll link to the playlist down below on all of those videos. So I can understand the want to try to repair the relationship. But oftentimes the need to reach out, especially when a breakup is very fresh, the need to reach out is less about repairing the relationship and it's more just an immediate try to fix the anxiety that you're feeling. The problem is that reaching out randomly right now usually makes it worse. Now, I want to be clear with this, that there are a lot of people out there that put out this idea of no contact, as in cut out all contact. I'm not going to dig into that here, but I've done a video on why no contact, especially for healing, can often be a pretty ineffective idea. So I'll link to that video down below as well. But reaching out randomly to your partner usually makes this anxiety worse. So the first thing I want to talk about is this reset effect. So think of healing kind of like a scab. Every time you reach out randomly, regardless of whether they respond or not, you're essentially picking at a scab. So you have an urge and you act on that urge. So you get this kind of weird, unstable hit of dopamine. What this does is this confirms to your brain that your ex or your partner is still the only source of relief to this anxiety. So this kind of keeps you in the same loop. So to simplify it, if you think you have the urge to reach out, you reach out to your partner or ex-partner, and whether they respond or not, what this does is this tells your brain that when you feel anxiety about your relationship, reaching out is the best option, and that's what you should do. And this keeps you in the same loop of randomly reaching out to your ex-partner without any real reason to. This keeps your brain trained on sporadically reaching out to your partner rather than retraining it into something that is more useful. The second thing that I want to talk about is this intermittent reinforcement. So this is like a gambling effect. So let's say you reach out and your partner or ex-partner responds kindly. In your mind, you get a win. You think, oh, they said something nice to me, and you chalk that off as, cool, I want to do that again. They said something nice, I feel that's good. They were soft, they're kind, that's a win. But then if they're cold or they ignore you or they don't respond, you create this as a lose in your mind. This unpredictability is called intermittent reinforcement. And this is the same mechanism that makes slot machines and gambling so addictive. It keeps you hooked on the hope of a good response, making the anxiety of not hearing from them even more unbearable next time. So you're playing this gambling game where you're just looking for that one nice comment out of the 10 reach outs. So it keeps your brain on this addictive loop, but it's not actually repairing the relationship. In fact, it's actually building really ineffective habits within yourself that won't help the relationship. And the worst part about just randomly reaching out is that it creates worse self-esteem. So when you reach out, I want to be clear that this is reaching out from a place of anxiety and with no real point to reach out. Oftentimes this comes from a place of low power. So when you feel vulnerable, you send a vulnerable text, miss you, thinking of you, wish I was with you, and you receive a cold response or a late response or no response at all, your brain registers this as social rejection. And this has an impact on you in a much bigger way because it lowers your self-worth and increases your shame, which means that you are less likely to be vulnerable in relationships in the future. So you end up building this guard up for yourself because you think, when I'm vulnerable, I don't get a response, and that's a bad thing. So you develop a worse habit, and then this adds on to the original anxiety that you were trying to escape. So I want to be clear that this video is not about no contact. This is not about just randomly cutting off all contact with your partner or ex-partner. I want to be very clear on that. This is about understanding why it's important to build healthier habits for yourself so that you can turn up to your relationship in a much stronger, grounded way. So as always, this is only a YouTube video, so I can't dig into it too much. But if you do want to learn more about relationships, understanding what builds and repairs a relationship versus what doesn't build or repair a relationship, then join my Relationship Bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that all of my members use to start turning their relationships around. I'll drop a link in the description if you want to grab your spot. So what is the new strategy? What is the new routine to stop you from randomly reaching out to an ex-partner to cure your anxiety? Well, the anxiety only starts to fade when your brain realizes that the chemical that you're looking for is not only existing in your ex-partner. You need to start developing new sources of dopamine. So what the members and I talk about is becoming self-sufficient, being able to take accountability for your own emotions, providing your own sources of dopamine, your own chemical management, rather than relying on others to do it. This in itself, rewiring your brain so that you are getting dopamine hits, not from sporadically reaching out, trying to get some nice feeling from your ex, but from other things, so that you approach a relationship from a place of want rather than a place of need, rather than trying to get your partner or ex-partner to refill the chemicals in your brain. So how do we do this? I'm going to do a one-step strategy. None of this 10 steps. It's a one-step strategy to help you start to rewire your brain away from randomly, sporadically contacting your ex-partner into something a lot more healthy. So the first and only step is this. Every time you feel the urge to just randomly text them, put it into a brain dump. Open up the Notes app on your phone or a random document. Put that thought, that feeling, whatever that feeling is, into words, onto a piece of paper in an app, and leave it there. In this way, you're not outsourcing your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions onto somebody else. You're actually taking the time to process them yourself. And what this does is something called affect labeling. Affect labeling is essentially learning how to name an emotion. And in naming that emotion, it actually reduces the intensity of that emotion. So simply figuring out what that emotion is, writing that emotion down, actually builds a better habit for you and a much better way of getting dopamine than randomly reaching out to your ex-partner and getting them to give you that dopamine, if that makes sense. So it allows you to express the emotion without kind of picking at the scab or giving away your power or outsourcing your emotional regulation onto anyone else. Now, does this mean that you should never, ever reach out to your ex-partner? So, of course not. There's nothing wrong about reaching out to an ex-partner, but it's important to understand why you are reaching out to your ex-partner. Simply wanting to repair the relationship isn't going to be enough. Simply wanting to cure your anxiety isn't going to be enough. In fact, that's actually going to make things worse, as we said. So when should you reach out to your ex-partner? I don't want to dig too much into it here. I've done a deeper dive video, which I'll link to on the screen. But reaching out to your ex-partner, it's less about what you should do and more about how you should do it. Like we said, if you're reaching out randomly, it's not going to be helpful. But if you are reaching out from a well-regulated place and understanding what is effective to talk about and what isn't effective to talk about, it's going to be a lot more helpful when you're trying to show your partner that the relationship can be different. So like I said, I won't dig into it here, but I'll leave you with that deeper dive video and I'll see you over there.